Thank you, everyone, for that introduction, and welcome everyone for taking some time off to sit in on this session that we have talking about lead lifecycle management and how to plug the leaks and build a stronger pipeline. Before we carry on, I just want to give you an overview of who eDynamic is. If I can move these slides. So eDynamic is a global technology firm. We focus on marketing technologies in particular, and we focus on helping B2B marketers with customer lifecycle solutions using contemporary platforms, including marketing automation, which I focus on, as well as CRM, and we have other technologies as well that we work on, including CMS, content management systems, intranets, and so on. In terms of how we are structured, we are a global team. I'm sitting in Toronto today with Anirban and Kamia sitting in India. We also have people in Australia, in Europe, and in Dubai, as well as the US and Canada. So that's kind of how we are spread out. A lot of work in the legal space, in technology, in financial services, and in manufacturing. Those are some of the areas that we also do some work in education, which is not listed here, but we have quite a bit of experience in that area as well. In terms of our services, as I mentioned, we focus a lot on marketing technologies. We provide both strategic help and guidance from platform selection, mapping out your roadmap against business objectives, as well as things like campaign planning, reporting, analytics, KPI setting, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of technology implementation, as I mentioned, we work across a number of platforms. I focus on marketing and CRM, but there are other groups within eDynamic that focus on social media, on mobile, on content management systems, and so on. In terms of our offerings, we offer kind of traditional digital agency type services. We provide support and managed services, and because of our global delivery model, we can offer outsourced technology teams as well to support you in various projects. Or in terms of my practice, we do a lot of work on everything to do with marketing. So from a demand gen perspective, we focus a lot on lead management, on inbound marketing and customer engagement, marketing automation and CRM, as I mentioned. And then on the other side of the fence, we focus a lot of kind of supporting activities like content development, creative, search engine optimization, and search engine marketing. Salesforce effectiveness tools, web strategy, design. So in terms of how we align our services, we kind of have built our offerings around how customers buy. So if you think about the buying cycle and how you as a marketer would develop campaigns, from driving awareness to educating the customer to being able to provide case studies and validation in terms of getting testimonials in front of a customer and so on, to the point of purchase, and then after purchase to kind of advocacy and experience, customer experience. All of that is tied to what we do. So we provide services from what we call top of the funnel activities like inbound marketing services. We do a lot of website development work. we we are partners with Adobe for Site Catalyst as well as Google Analytics. We do a lot of data work. We are partners with Eloqua, Silverpop, and we work with other automation tools like Marketo, Pardot, and Acton. In terms of CRM, we work with Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce.com. So everything that we do is kind of aligned to what you as a marketer might be performing in terms of acquisition and engagement. So this is just to give you an idea of kind of the breadth of the services that we offer. So to why we are here, just a quick agenda. We want to kind of understand what lead management is all about and what it would take to create a successful lead management strategy, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. At this time, I'm going to ask for Camia to put up a poll just to get a feel of where your heads are at. Great, thanks, Camia. So it looks like there's a small bunch of you that have a very good idea of what deals are closing, what types of deals are closing, and have some good insight into the types of customers that you're targeting and how these opportunities are closing. But there's a good chunk of you that are saying, about 71% of you are saying that you kind of sort of know this, and I guess that's why you're here. And there's about 15% of you that are saying that you're planning to do something like this in lead management, and that's not extraordinary. That's actually quite common. If I look at I'm trying to move these slides again. The whole idea is about why we're here is we're trying to fix the leaks in our sales process. And when we know it's a leak is when marketing's doing a lot of heavy lifting and sales are still not hitting their targets. The sales is coming back and saying that they do not have enough leads. There might be a low level of engagement between the leads that you're passing on to sales. And there's possibly a disconnect somehow between sales and marketing. And all of these somehow contribute to why the whole lead management process might be leaking. And unfortunately for marketers, the blame sometimes falls on them. And what we're trying to do here is just try to fix that. The good news, or if misery loves company, then the good news is that you're not alone, because in most cases, about 11% of sales leads that are pursued by salespeople, there's only about 11% of them that are pursued by salespeople, while a vast majority are not. And even the leads that sales generates are never closed. So there's a big gap here between what sales is picking up and what sales is actually closing or not closing. The other side of this is that there's a misalignment between sales and marketing, and that causes a lot of issues, especially when it comes down to revenue and to optimizing the pipeline. But there's kind of light at the end of the tunnel, because out of the companies that Aberdeen, the Aberdeen group had researched, they found that companies that did it really well uh, were able to optimize their revenue a lot better, and the delta between those that did it really well and those that did not was pretty big, and that says that if you do things the right way, then there's a good chance that marketing can perform well, and the overall success of the company can be assured. But things are also changing at the same time. So it's becoming really challenging for marketers, because customers, there's this whole concept of the disintermediation of the sales team. And customers are more and more disinclined to working with humans, or with salespeople in particular. So Gartner says that by 2020, customers will be able to manage most of their relationships with an organization without even talking to a human. So it's got to a point where customers are actually driving the conversation. They are determining when someone talks to them and when someone does not. And this sometimes manifests itself in the fact that leads are passed to sales, and then sales flags them as unresponsive or dead leads, because for all practical purposes, they're unable to talk to these people. But on the flip side, the customers themselves are doing their own research. They are hyper connected through their social connections, through their mobile devices, through their own networks. And they're getting this information whether the salespeople are giving it to them or not, or whether they're picking up the phone and responding to a sales call. They are still extremely well informed about your product, about your service. And because they are in control of their buying process, it becomes imperative for us as marketers to be able to see where they are, what they're doing, and who they're connected to. So to build a stronger pipeline, it becomes really important to be able to see or engage customers wherever they are, whether it's on a social media site, whether it's on your website, whether they're doing research on a blog or a forum. There's all of these opportunities where you can engage customers. The challenge becomes, how do you track where they are and what they do? So the whole aspect of lead management becomes critical, because customers don't want to talk to you. However, your salespeople are measured, they're compensated, and the company basically grows based on acquiring customers. So how does that happen? The only way this can happen in today's world is with proper lead management. And lead management, by definition, is the tools, the process of taking leads that are coming in kind of at the top of the funnel and optimizing them to, in effect, drive revenue. So anything that you do that fits your business model, to be able to optimize that whole process so that at the end of the day, these leads are actually turning into customers and into revenue for you, is what lead management is all about. And it's becoming more and more critical that we look at this in a more granular way to see where those leaks are that we talked about earlier. in most marketing organizations, the common gap is somewhere in the middle. It's not on top. Marketers are very good at doing campaigns and driving leads and converting leads and bringing them into the system or into the database. But many of them, many marketers or many organizations are quick to hand those over to the sales team. And what happens is those unqualified leads land up with sales, and sales are unable to process them. Or they, if you go to the right-hand side of the screen, in terms of how they handle these leads, they basically cherry pick them. They see which ones might be from a certain geo, from a certain industry, that they know will be more responsive when they call them, and they'll cherry pick those and work those, while there'll be a big chunk of what you're passing on to sales that's going to fall through the cracks. And that's kind of like the middle column on this slide from Forrester, which says that while marketing is trying to spend more time, with these lost leads, what do you do with them? Very often you see this with paid search campaigns where you're doing a lot of work with Google AdWords and things of that way, and you're driving 500,000, 10,000 leads, and then you find that sales has only picked up a fraction of those, and you wonder why. And the main, I guess, reason for that is because there is no proper handoff, and there's no proper qualification process between what marketing is doing, what sales is doing. So it becomes incumbent on us to understand what the buyer's behavior is like, and then determine their interest level from that. We have technologies now in place. Marketing automation and CRM work really well together. And they've got the ability to do personalization and things of that way to be able to deliver that right message to the right person. And the ability to not just pass leads over to sales, but to be able to score them, determine who might be more responsive, might be more receptive to a sales conversation, and those that are not, and be able to take those that are not and keep them in the marketing bucket to be nurtured over a period of time. Just a little, step back as to what's the difference between lead management and lead generation. Like I said, lead management is the entire process of actually taking leads that were, I guess, an output of lead generation tactics and optimizing them to the point where they actually become customers. So everything that you do, right down the handoff process from a campaign to a lead to an opportunity to a sale is handled through proper lead management. And to a great extent, the success or failure of this lies between how tied you are or how aligned you are with the sales team. So that becomes really important. I think many marketers are very good at lead generation. It's relatively easy to do. There's a heavy expense to it, but to actually get it to perform to the level that you want it to, or get the output in terms of revenue, that's where lead management steps in. And this is just an example of how lead management can drastically change revenue numbers. So here's an illustration showing kind of a classic deal size of about $100,000 and what volumes you would typically do to drive that number of leads. So you've got roughly about 20,000 leads that you bring in, or inquiries that you bring in. You convert about 25% of them into qualified leads, with another 50% of them then go down into sales ops, and then you close about $1.7 million in revenue. But if you had to optimize just the conversion rate and do that by better engagement by 5%, that drastically, keeping everything else the same, that almost improves your revenue numbers by 4x. And this is what lead management is all about. It's about optimizing this whole process from top to bottom. And if you then take the next level, which is qualified leads, and the only reason why this number changes is because between qualified and sales accepted, you've now got better alignment with your sales team to say that, okay, this is a lead, this is who we're going to give to you, and then they'll say, yeah, I'm going to take that over. Just by that kind of alignment and who's a lead and what's a quality lead to them, just by making that alignment, you can drastically improve your close rates. So from a $1.7 million revenue, keeping everything the same essentially, but just by optimizing our lead management process, you can go up to almost 10x in revenue growth. So, Tanya, before we go into this, do we have another poll?
Don, we do have a poll.
Sure. Can we launch it now, or? Great. Thanks, Camia. So it looks like about 40% of you are using an automated lead scoring program, and there's kind of an equal balance between those that are doing some type of manual scoring and those that are planning to or moving to either a manual or an automated process. And that's good. I mean, marketing automation has kind of matured now, and a lot of companies are doing lead scoring, so that's great. What we'll do now is look at some of the steps to creating a successful lead management strategy. The base of it all, because lead management impacts revenue and it impacts how sales handles leads, is to align with your sales team. So some of the main pointers. Now, this typically works with larger, is required more with larger organizations than with smaller organizations, because in smaller organizations, typically the CMO might also head up the sales team, or it might be a VP of sales and marketing, and it might be a smaller organization where there's a tighter alignment between the two groups. But in a much larger organization, this becomes more of a challenge. So what we see is that if companies that are successfully aligned, both from a sales and marketing perspective, especially when it comes to goals, so if they've got shared goals, then that makes a big difference, because then they're in it together. Having some type of a common lead definition. So if sales says that this is the type of leads that we want, and my marketing is able to give that to them, and this is validated through the data and through opportunities that have been generated in the past, then that further enables better sales results. Lead qualification. So how are leads qualified? When should a lead be passed to sales? The term, service level agreements between sales and marketing has been around for a while now. So being able to really define what stages of the lead, what stages of qualification should the lead be at before they're passed off to sales, and what is sales actually doing with them? How many of them are they processing? How many of them they're returning back to marketing, saying these are no good? Being able to have full visibility into what marketing is doing as well as what sales is doing. And sometimes this can just be a matter of the two teams working closely together, marketing, going on sales trips to meet prospects, to meet customers, listening on phone calls, and then for sales to be able to see how through dashboards and through reporting in the CRM system, what's marketing's influence on the leads that are being generated. Finally, having common metrics. So this kind of ties back to shared goals, but having the same revenue-focused metrics and marketing being able to think more like salespeople, think more numbers than think in terms of campaign metrics, in terms of clicks and website visitors and things of that way. So you think about common goals and common strategy. It's important because while both sales and marketing do things a little differently, the end result is that they both benefit. And if both teams go in with that attitude, then only good things can happen. So having the ability to work together to define what the quota is, what the number of ops the opportunity should be, and how many leads would be required, both either marketing generated or sales generated, a combination of the two, to be able to drive the number of end up turning into closed business, is something that marketing and sales should work together on. And if the VP of sales and the VP of marketing can sit together and do that, it makes only good things happen. The second is lead qualification. So there's always, the notion that marketing is generating all these leads and sales is not picking them up. So having a clear definition of what is qualified, what is not qualified, what should be passed to sales, what should not be passed to sales, where is that handoff? All of these things help the whole process of optimization. And then it comes, another aspect of this is lead definition. So what exactly is a lead? Sometimes it's difficult because sales will tell you what a lead is today, and they might change their tune tomorrow based on a deal that closed or whatever. So it's always important to combine subjective information from your sales team along with objective information and align with your sales manager, with the sales organization, and say, ask them what are the types of leads that they think that they will close. And if you are able to button that down and then focus on only those types of leads from an acquisition standpoint, then again, sales will have no excuse but to accept those leads and then close them. And this also keeps everyone honest. It keeps sales honest, it keeps marketing honest, and everyone's aligned towards the same type of leads. They're all kind of singing from the same hymn book, so to speak. The other aspect to sales and marketing alignment is common metrics. So it's quite easy with a lot of tools to be able to get campaign metrics, to be able to say, this email campaign did so and so, the social media campaign had so many forwards or tweets or retweets and things in that way. But in the language of business, and the language of sales is actually quite close to the language of business, it's all about revenue. So if marketing's goals and marketing's numbers are also tied to revenue in the same way as the sales team is, then that makes a big difference in terms of how marketing thinks about marketing activities and how they can tag and identify marketing-related programs, campaigns that are influencing or sourcing leads for the sales team. Of course, there's always secondary metrics, but you will use secondary metrics more from bringing it down to lead score and to kind of higher metrics, which then form the basis of saying that so-and-so lead or so-and-so record is a highly engaged lead, and then being able to use that for routing purposes to the sales team. So these metrics are important, but they are not metrics that you'd kind of call them internal metrics that marketing would use internally, but not share with the sales team. Now, there are certain instances where there's certain engagement metrics, like website visits and social comments and things of that way, that you might want to share to just give the sales team some type of a subjective barometer of how engaged a certain prospect might be. Then the second step in this process would be to really understand the customer's buying cycle. And this is from the point that either a salesperson initially contacted the customer and kind of initiated interest, or it was a referral or a campaign or a press article or whatever it is that kind of initiated that first interest point, down to how the customer educates them herself or himself on the product or service, evaluates it against other competitive products or services, be able to justify the investment, and then finally purchase it, and then advocate the product or service based on a positive experience. So the way to do that is to really understand who the customer is, and you do that if there are multiple, if it's a complex sale with multiple customers on the team, then multiple customer profiles on that team. Then who are those people? And then also figuring out what are their pain points, what are their motivations, what would be their questions, their objections, and then aligning a lot of what you would do in terms of marketing along that buying cycle. If you've got multiple customers, then your marketing is going to be slightly different for each customer, but that's where technology comes into play, where you can use personalization to drive different messages to different segments within that customer base. The other way of looking at how you do this is by doing a lead forward revenue back analysis. And that means going into the CRM system and looking at past customers, seeing how they bought, not looking at corner case customers, but looking at, on an average, who's your typical customer. And what are the, defining some criteria for them. They might be based on, someone's more technical, someone might be based on price, there might be the actual user, there might be some type of an influencer. But apart from that, there are other aspects of the customer that you also need to make a note of. And some of this comes from looking at the data, and some of it comes subjectively from having good conversations with the sales team. So job role and function, which industries are closing faster for your business. What are some of those motivations and pain points for these individual customer roles? That will all help in helping you figure out how your customers are actually buying from you. What are they doing? Where are they at when they're searching for your product and service? What's their network look like? The social network look like? Who are they reaching out to? Which blogs and forums are they reaching out to? All of this comes into play. So this is a slide from Google, which when they did some analysis for how people buy different types of products, they found that there are certain times for certain products where there's a high intensity of research and evaluation that happens quite a while before they actually end up purchasing items, while for low-ticket items it might be the other way around. What research has shown is that for B2B, especially about 57% of the time that your prospects are spending time on is even before they actually interact with your organization. So they're doing almost half of the buying cycle spent without your knowledge. And that's kind of scary because when you do engage with them, you need to if you're not abreast with where they are in their knowledge and their understanding of your product, then they will lose interest and they'll probably go to another to your competitor who might be better engaged with them and know exactly where they are, what they're looking for. The other aspect to this, like I said, was what are the channels they're using. So it's always good when we do campaign metrics to also look at platforms, to look at using tags for social media. All of these other elements that will help you understand using time of day, schedules, things of that way, to be able to give you some insight into where they are spending their time and where they're getting their information from. Finally, you want to start creating segments. So rather than take your entire database and send something out, you want to be able to have as many segments as possible, because the better your ability to segment, the better you have the ability to personalize, and that in turn means you're better able to engage with them, and that in turn means better conversion, higher quality lead, better score, and that gets faster sales, and then the conversation continues. So we talked a little about pain points and motivations, and one exercise that we do, and it's common with quite a few agencies, is to be able to map out kind of on a matrix certain things or certain actions and questions that a certain customer role might do. So for instance, what are the questions that they might ask? What actions they might take at each stage in the buying cycle? What are the motivations for them to move forward? For instance, if it's a finance manager and the finance manager has to spend a weekend or the last week of every month reconciling accounts, paying out expense reports and so on, that can be really painful. So the motivation for a finance manager might be to be able to provide them with a software or service that will enable them to do most of these things using automation and be able to do it more efficiently. And that would give them more free time. That would be the motivation. The pain point, of course, being the amount of time and energy that they have to spend. There might be certain barriers, and it's a good idea to map out some of those barriers. Some barriers might be organizational barriers. For instance, IT might need to get involved, procurement might need to get involved. The legal process might be very tedious. There might be certain other aspects, which is that I can't really work with you because you work with a competitor of ours, and we have a policy that we do not work with vendors that work with our competitors. So there are all kinds of there might be physical limitations or barriers that might prevent the prospect from moving down the buying cycle. So mapping this out getting intelligence from both the sales team and from the data, looking at how customers have bought in the past, and then arming yourself finally with content that would map to all of these various questions, actions, barriers, and so on, and then bucketing that content, which you then evolve into campaigns, into programs that would target all of these various segments at different stages. Before we go further, Camia, do we have one more poll? Great, thanks, Camia. So it looks like most of you, about 60% of you, said that you do one-off campaigns as part of your lead nurturing strategy, I guess. While there's a few of you, about 20% of you that are using automated lead nurturing, and 20% of you that are not doing any lead nurturing at all. In terms of why lead nurturing is important, one of the big aspects of automating a lead nurturing program is this report here on your screen, which says that this is from Eloqua, and when they looked at all of their customers, they found that almost twice the number of customers that were using an automated program had a better influence on revenue than those that did not. So those campaigns were actually influencing and driving revenue a lot more than the manual campaigns. So in terms of automation, how do you proceed? So the first thing to do is to try to build a model. And again, it's based on your own business and how your products are sold. It might be a very complex sale, or it might be a fairly quick sale. But it's always good to start out with some type of a model to say, okay, what happens when leads come into our database? How do I process that? When do I send it to sales? When do I use engagement tactics and nurture campaigns? When do I kind of spin them out and send them to the sales team for follow-up and so on? So building some type of a model, however simple or however complex, it doesn't matter, but architecting out some type of a solution is always a good starting off point for automation. The second is to build a data profile. Once you have a good idea of how customers buy, what the buying cycle looks like, who are the customer segments, you can standardize the information in terms of all of the inputs of data that you're bringing in, which might mean your website contact us form, your campaign forms, or lists that you might purchase, from data.com, ZoomInfo, OneSource, whatever the demand base. Wherever you get your data from, if you can standardize a customer profile, then you're able to better create a more complete data profile, which you can then use for other things like scoring, nurturing, and so on. It just makes it a lot easier. And you can always embellish that data as you go along with concepts like progressive profiling and so on. Another aspect to this is to build a model of all of your campaign activities. So once you kind of have your lead management process kind of worked out, map it out in terms of all of the online activities that you're doing and all of the offline activities that you're doing. And how does this drive to a conversion point? Now, typically that conversion point might be a series of landing pages, it might be a website, it might be a Facebook page, whatever it is, getting that information coming in to a point of conversion so you can capture that as a raw inquiry into your database. You can use web analytics to be able to track which sources were working more than others so that you can optimize your online and offline channels. But then you can use marketing automation or some system where you can take that information and then process it. So process it for nurturing, process it for scoring, and then finally routing that information to the sales team. Part of this process of automation is also figuring out, once you know what the channels are, what types of campaigns you would be running as a follow-up measure. So there are a number of types of programs and types of campaigns that you can run, but mapping them out into one type of a seamless process of taking leads that are coming in at the top from, let's say, a paid search campaign or an advertising campaign of some sort, bring them into the system, but before passing them on to sales, put them into an intro campaign, welcome campaign, kind of warm them up for a while. Then maybe use scoring. Those that are not ready, you can put them into another program, an accelerator program, and so on. So mapping that out in terms of some lead management workflow for how leads come in from the top to the point where they go to sales, and when they don't go to sales, what happens to them is also extremely beneficial when you think about lead management. Finally, the other aspect to lead management is scoring. So now that you've got your leads, how do you actually determine which leads go to sales? So the best way to do this is to sit down with sales and figure out what would be a high quality, a high scored lead. And the way to do that is simply to define kind of metrics along two axes. One is how much they would like to talk to you versus, which would be the level of engagement, versus how much you want to talk to them, which is profile. So you define your profile, you know the type of industry, you know the type of revenue, you know the type of customer prospect. What you also need to know is how much they are engaged with you. What are they clicking on? What forms are they submitting? Which sources did they use to come to your website? Using all of that together creates what we define as the buying zone. So by defining the buying zone and identifying which leads fall into that buying zone, those would be the first leads that the sales team would be able to pick up on. So scoring and routing becomes really important there. In terms of a typical process, every time a lead comes in, you score them. You can have a combination score using engagement and profile together, or you can use a numeric score. It doesn't really matter. You can always start simple with some simple data to determine what the score is, and then refine it from then on. But essentially, what you want to do is be able to take that lead, score them. If there's once they get a score, you then determine an action, and that action could be, okay, send it to the CRM system for the sales team to follow up on because they're a hot lead. Maybe they need further qualification, so you can pass them to maybe a telemarketing vendor or like an inside sales team if you have that, or they're not ready yet, so let's put them into some type of a nurture stream and nurture them over a period of time. So that's typically how the scoring process would work. And intricate with the scoring program is what do you do with all of those leads that are not ready to go to sales? And that's where nurturing comes in. So part of what nurturing does is it's basically keeping your brand, your company, your product and service top of mind. And data shows that if you're not nurturing a prospect, then you're basically opening up that prospect to your competitor. Because if your competitor is doing something, even if it's as basic as sending out a newsletter every month, and you're not, then they're going to think of your competitor versus you. So the ability to build trust and a strong relationship with your prospect becomes one of the big benefits of a nurture campaign. It's establishing credibility. You have the opportunity with nurturing to be able to also establish yourself as a subject matter expert and be able to be the go-to company or group when they're looking for answers, when they need information, and ultimately that basically leads into them eventually buying from you. In terms of nurturing leads through the buying cycle, there are a number of different programs. So we saw earlier in the lead management workflow of types of programs based on how information is coming into your system. But you can have a welcome program, you can have customer follow-ups, you can have onboarding programs for customers that have signed up. You can have programs for opportunities that are stuck. So a sales team might have, for instance, provided a contract to a customer and then never heard of that customer for the next 2 weeks. So and the customers are the prospects are responding to their calls. So these would be qualified as stuck opportunities, and the sales and marketing can basically send out emails to fill that gap and kind of move them along, so that at least some of them will come back in and respond and ultimately close. So there are a number of different types of campaigns that you can do, and figuring out which programs are best suited for your business model, which content is best suited for different types of customer segments, and where along the buying cycle should you be laying these out is part of the whole lead management process. So the goals of lead nurturing, it's to build relationships with leads at the top or middle of the buying cycle. It's to move them, so it's just to accelerate them through. So if you've got leads at the top, you want to move them down to turn into opportunities, and then you're going to you want to push them down further into closed business. And this comes back to content and the types of content that you provide, whether it's validation information, testimonials, customer advocacy, and so on, that enable that prospect to move down. And then those that are unqualified, how to re-engage them. There are wake-up campaigns for dead leads and so on. So there's different types of campaigns and nurture programs that you can run for leads that are kind of sitting unattended to by anyone, either by sales or by marketing. And finally, this is all about sales. So in terms of step 6, we're looking at how to empower sales. So being able to provide the sales team with insight into which leads are engaged and which leads are not, by showing them the score, by being able to give them the insight to act on certain leads. Those are all important. And finally, being able to enable sales to drive certain leads as well. So to be able to create little programs that sales can actually initiate, either directly through the CRM system or through through another platform, like a marketing platform or so on. But be able to have sales do personalized follow-ups, initiate programs for stuck opportunities, like I mentioned, or if there are prospects that might have told them we're not interested, call us back in December, they could put those, they could flag them as lost and then initiate another program to keep them engaged should they decide to become interested again as circumstances change. That's basically what I have. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. I know we've kind of gone over time, but I think we'll take a couple of questions.
Hi, Sean. We do have we do have a few questions, but I think we are running out of time. So let's take a couple of them quickly. The first one is which is more relevant, sending promotional offers in nurture emails or sending thought leadership materials?
Right. So that's a good question. It depends again. I would say it depends on the buying cycle. If someone's just come in new, I would say thought leadership, establishing yourself as a subject matter expert and building credibility is more important. I think promotional might come in further down. So, for instance, if there's an opportunity that is not moving, there's a contract with the customer where the customer has not made a decision, and a promotion might just get them to unstick and basically go ahead with the purchase agreement. I would put a promotion further down.
Okay. Sean, the next question is how frequent should our lead scoring matrices need to be changed? Is it necessary to keep changing metrics for better conversion?
Yeah, I mean, the whole aspect of lead management is an iterative process. Because if it was a well-defined science, then we wouldn't need marketing or sales. You would just have a robot doing it. Where lead scoring comes into play is a lot of what lead scoring is based on is some hypothesis and some data. And it's basically what sales and marketing decide is if they do X, Y, and Z action, then they're a highly qualified lead. Now what happens is when you actually put scoring into play, you might see some very different results. So it's always good to keep close tabs on how scoring relates to the reality of are the hots really closing, are the warms really closing, or why are the cold leads closing more than the hots or the warms? Like, what's going on here? So I think it's always good, at least every quarter, so every 3 months or so, to do a review. When you're doing the numbers, when sales is reporting on the numbers, and when marketing is reporting on the numbers, I think that's also a good time to come back to this to lead scoring and see how accurate the lead scoring model was and what tweaks could be made. Another aspect to it is also the lead flow. So sometimes you might be extremely restrictive with your scoring model, and the reality is that might actually generate very few leads, and you may decide to say, I'll give all of the leads to sales, let them deal with it, but let's monitor and see which, how do they do with the hots and so on, with the hot leads or the A1 leads, or whatever type of naming convention you use. Again, there's also the why a review becomes necessary is you might need to open that open the gates a little, or you might want to throttle those leads a little more because you're now providing kind of more loosely scored leads. They're not as qualified as they should be over to the sales team. The sales are probably wasting some more time because they're calling a so-called hot lead, and that lead's not really hot. They're not ready yet for whatever reason. So for all of those different kind of aspects, I would say that every quarter, it's a good idea to sit down with sales, look at what deals closed, look at what opportunities are on the table, and compare that to the scores that the scored leads that were provided to the sales team, and see how accurately those two mesh.
All right, Sean. There are a few more questions. I'm still getting a few questions, but at this note, I must say we'll have to get back to all of them after the webinar. So here I'd like to end the webinar, and I would like to thank everyone for attending our webinar. We hope you found it informative. The recording for today's webinar will be available on our website within next 3 business days, and we'll also be sharing the URL of the webcast with all the attendees via email. Please feel free to reach out to us at contact@edynamic.net for any questions you might have. Thank you once again. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kamya.
Thanks, guys. If you want to discuss any work with us, feel free to contact us. As Anirban said, we have a lot of examples of some of the work that we have done in lead management, so feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
The organizer has ended the session, and